and welcome back to my channel, where in this fourth part of the Ranger class series, I will be showing you how to level a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Ranger class character within Fantasy Grounds. And in this particular video, I will be finishing the leveling process, carrying our character from level 11 all the way through to level 20. I will once again continue explaining what you get for each level, going through the process of setting up any spells or features that you acquire, and in those cases where it is required, explain how they are used. So with that, let's get started. At level 11, the Ranger is going to acquire one of their other archetype features, but in addition to that, they are also going to be gaining the knowledge of an additional spell as well as an additional 3rd level spell slot. So let's drop our level into place. And as I'm not touching on the archetype features in this particular video, let's just deal with the actual spell itself. So let's pop open our spells list here. Close this out, and we're going to take a look at a 3rd level spell. And I already have lightning arrows, so let's go speak with plants. And that finishes everything that we have to do for level 11, with the exception of actually setting up our spells to be prepared, which apparently I haven't done for a little while. Oops. There we go. At level 12, we will be gaining another ability score improvement, but we will not be gaining any additional spells in this particular case. So let's drop our level into place. And for this particular character, I will go through the process of showing how a feat works. So let me look through this list, and I will choose one and then show you how that works. So I've identified 3 features that I think will work with our particular character: Alert, Skulker, and Sharpshooter. The Alertness feat is going to give us the ability to gain a +5 to our initiative rolls. You can't be surprised when you are conscious, and other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being unseen by you. However, Skulker is really only going to give us one advantage, if you will, in relation to the 3 bullet points it's providing. We're technically already able to hide when we're lightly obscured. We have dark vision, so theoretically our perception isn't going to be affected by this particular restriction, if you will. So the only thing we're really going to be gaining out of this is that if we miss while we make an attack, our position won't be revealed. Still useful, but I don't know if it warrants actually taking this. And the last one is going to benefit the best for our ranged weapons in that we can now attack at our long range distance. So if you recall with our longbow, up at the top here, we have a short range of 150, and we can shoot out to 600. That's feet. Just so that you know, it's not meters, it's feet. It might be meters, it really depends. Comes down to the scale that the DM is going to be using, I guess. But in any event, the distance is 150, whereas this is 600 feet is your long range. Anywhere between 150 and 600, you're technically shooting with a disadvantage roll. Sharpshooter removes that disadvantage roll when you make this attack. Additionally, your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. So in order for you to suffer disadvantage from someone who's hiding, the only way you could do so is if they're in full cover, and then you just simply can't see them. So why bother shooting? And finally, before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you are proficient in this case our longbow, you can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll, and if that attack hits, add a +10 to the attack's damage bonus. So we're already doing a +9 when it comes to our attack roll. We can suffer a little bit of a loss, if you will, when it comes to our attack roll and still get a +4 bonus, and that's only going to increase the higher our levels go. So in this particular case, I'm actually going to take Sharpshooter, and I'm going to drop that into place. And you drop that into place on your Abilities tab, and when you do, it'll pop up into this section. It's a unique requirement. You are also noticing that I'm not adjusting my ability scores because I'm using the optional rule to take a feat here. this is something we can set up when it comes to this perspective here. So let's have a look here. So there are a couple of ways that we could go about adding in this particular part of Sharpshooter. I've already added Sharpshooter to our feats in preparation for one of the ways that we can do this. One doesn't work so well, and I'll show you why that is. And that comes down to if we add in Sharpshooter here, we do an ATK -5 piercing, and do actually the attack isn't a piercing one. Now that I think about it, the damage is +10 piercing. It'll be on you, and what you'll want to do is once per modifier. If we go to a combat tracker, and right now I've got this bear target. Well, let's actually target the something that isn't dying. Untarget that. Let's go to the dragon. Now if I make the attack roll, and I'm going to declare that I'm going to suffer the -5 penalty, I'll add the effect to my character. Now what I do is I roll my attack, and you'll see that the -5 penalty came off of here. And in this particular case, I missed. So I'm going to remove that. Next round, I make another attack. Once again, I have missed, and this is still gone. Now I'm going to show you something. If I make another attack, you'll see that this sticks around. But it shouldn't, in the sense that it should have expired simply because of the fact that this is no longer there. You can set that up so that after one round, it will expire before you go again. And what I mean by that is if I set up the effect on this particular character again, I make the attack roll. I'm going to miss. Nothing else I can really do except make another attack roll. The problem is, because I have extra attack at this point, the problem is that damage piercing is still there. There are the 10 points. Here's the thing. If you're going to, this forces you into a position where if you're going to make the sniper shot, you need to do it as your last attack. Well, here's the thing. You can continue to use this. You can use this every single time. There's no limit to how many times you can use this. So every single time I shoot this bow, I can add this effect to this particular character. The problem is going to be this 10-point plus damage bonus shouldn't stick around because I've missed. That's why this doesn't work so well. So what you're actually going to want to do is this. Have one setup for your attack, get rid of the round, and have it expire on the next roll. If you then hit, make use of a second effect, also called Sharpshooter. But this time it's the damage +10 piercing. You don't need the plus in there, by the way. It's going to be on yourself, and it's going to be on next roll. And this is all you have to do. You apply the first effect when you make the attack. You make your attack, the effect is gone, and in this particular case, I have hit. I can now apply the damage roll before I roll my damage, and you'll see that there's a +15 here. That's because it's the original +5 bonus, and then there's the +10. So I did 28 points of damage to that particular dragon with my first shot. Now I have my second shot. I can apply the effect again, make my attack roll, and in this particular case I miss. I don't have to worry about any quote-unquote effect that happens to be sitting around. That is one method to go about doing this. And I generally recommend this one as the method of choice simply because there's more or less a quote-unquote audit trail here, if you will, that is associated with this particular capability. The other option, and I'm just going to collect all my arrows back, the other option is to create a second longbow. And just give me a second here. Grab this, and I'm going to drop. You'll notice that you can't drop this into place. It just doesn't work. And if I look at my inventory, I still only see that I have one longbow, so it didn't give me a second longbow. The way that you have to go about adding a new weapon is click this edit list / indicator down at the bottom and add a weapon. So it's the sword icon here. And that'll create a new entry up here. And then you can just get rid of that. This will be longbow, sharpshooter, it'll be a ranged weapon with an equal number of shots, so you'll have to make sure that you keep these in sync, which is why it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. And you'll be doing, where is it here? +10 to your bonus for the damage and a -5 for the attack. So you'll see that our attack roll dropped down to 4 because we put in this penalty. We have a 1d8 for our attack damage. We have a bonus of +5, but also a bonus of +10, so this would be a bonus of 15. The problem with this is that this bonus entry here is going to get doubled up here. We don't want that. We want simply a +10 here. Now we take into account our 15 because we've already got our base there. And the damage type is going to be piercing. The other properties that you want to actually add here are going to be very similar to the properties that exist here, down here. And you want to copy that into place, but in this particular case, you want to set the range to 600. This doesn't actually have any form of impact on the damage that the weapon does. It just makes it so that you know that is the range that you're going to be shooting at if you're looking at shooting out at maximum range. It essentially removes the quote-unquote limitation of the short range versus long range differences. It's heavy and it's two-handed. Now, when you actually make the attack, you don't have to worry about adding any effects. You just roll. And in this case, I missed. I roll again. In this particular case, I have also missed. So, next turn comes around. I make an extra attack, or make my attack roll. I miss. I roll again. And this time I have hit the dragon. I can now do the damage this way. In relation to having a quote-unquote log around here, you'll see that there is the sharpshooter reference here as a part of the description of the longbow. Yeah, that kind of works, but it's kind of buried into there. Whereas if you have the effects in play, you see the effects coming off, and you see the effects doing the extra bits of damage as part of this whole process. This is why I say the recommended approach is this, because this, you kind of have a broken link here. You can't refer to it in any way, shape, or form. You've got a weapon here that is an extra weapon that really is just a doubling of this. So now you have to manage your arrows, because if you shoot 4 arrows here, you have to remember that you've shot 4 arrows or here, or 3 arrows here. So you have to keep these in sync. Using the effects just simplifies the whole process of managing your ammunition. So I would argue that this method isn't as clean. I'm just going to get rid of that for now. And I'm going to recover all my arrows. And those are the two, quote-unquote, 2.5 ways that you can actually set up Sharpshooter as the Ranger or as any other character that has taken this particular feat for use. And that finishes everything that we have to do for level 12. At level 13, we are once again gaining no new features. We are seeing an increase in our proficiency bonus, and we are seeing an increase in our known spells as well as our available spell slots. So let's drop this into place and pop down here. We have our spell slots properly configured, so I'm just going to select a level 4 spell. I'm going to go with Freedom of Movement. And that's everything that we have to do for level 13. At level 14, we are gaining our next favored enemy selection that we wish to take, as well as a new feature called Vanish. Nothing else is going to change. So let's go ahead and take a look at adding this to our character, and then taking a look at our favorite enemy reference, as well as the Vanish feature, and set these up. In relation to the favored enemy feature, all we have to do is select an additional creature type, if you will, from this particular list, or we could choose 2 humanoids, such as orcs or gnolls, or any other combination of humanoids that you wish to choose, and add them as an additional favorite enemy. I'm going to go with elementals in this particular case, just to be different. I don't think I've ever had a ranger that has had elementals as a favorite enemy. And that's all we have to do to set up favorite enemies. Last adjustment when it comes to any particular enemy that we considered favored. With the Vanish feature, you are now able to make use of a hide action as a bonus action on your turn. This means we're going to want to go ahead and set this up. And this is going to be a ranger feature. Oops. And that's going to show up down here. Now what the hide implies is that you're giving yourself an ability to make your attacks, and then instead of making your offhand weapon attack, you can hide. So you could theoretically take your bow, shoot twice, and then hide in the cover that you were using in order to move to a different position and not be spotted in that particular process. You also can no longer be tracked by non-magical means unless you have chosen to leave a trail. So you can essentially be followed by a group of adversaries and just simply vanish, in the sense that you stop leaving tracks because you've chosen to stop leaving tracks. And unless they have a magical way to find you, they'll essentially lose track of where you are. They won't be able to track you down. That puts you in an advantage where you can now come back and ambush them, giving you the A, potentially a surprise attack, and B, a bit of an advantage in that whole process. So that's what the Vanish feature actually does. How would you actually use it? Well, I've kind of covered that a little bit. All you really have to do is indicate to the Dungeon Master you're using Vanish to make a hide test or hide attempt. They will say, okay, give me a stealth check. So you go and you roll a stealth check, which you have a +10 bonus on. And chances are, depending on the level of difficulty, I've probably now hidden my character. And that's all it is. Now, granted, a 15 was probably the better roll to get here. So if I roll again, I get a worse one. No, in this case, I get a better one. So I did most likely succeed in that particular case. And that's everything that you have to do around Vanish. This is just here so that you can indicate to the Dungeon Master that you're using it. That's it. At level 15, you are gaining your last Ranger archetype feature, but you are also gaining an additional known spell and an additional 4th level spell slot. So let's drop this into place. Go to Actions, scroll down until we get to our level 4s. And I'm going to choose Grasping Vines. And that's all we have to do for level 15. For level 16, we are gaining our second last ability score improvement. And that is pretty much it. So let's drop this into place. And I am simply going to take my wisdom and modify it by 2 points to bring this up to 19. And that's only going to benefit any of the spells that I have here that make use of my wisdom modifier, because we added a +1 modifier to this. That's everything that we have to do for level 16. At level 17, we are not gaining any new features. We are seeing our last proficiency bonus increase. And we are seeing an increase in our known spells, as well as unlocking 5th level spells finally. So let's drop this into place. I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to go with Swift Quiver. I do want to cover one thing, though. In relation to the proficiency bonuses, you'll notice that I haven't really been covering anything about it, because within the Ranger's class, anytime there's an adjustment to your proficiency bonus, everything else automatically adjusts. So you don't have to worry about your saving throws, you don't have to worry about your skills, and you don't have to worry about your weapons attacks here. I have not chosen or selected any of the spells that make use of a proficiency modifier as part of their casting, simply because I do not believe the ranger has any. So you don't need to worry about going through and adjusting them. But if you did, and there was a PRF reference there, it's going to automatically do it for you there as well. So when it comes to the ranger, there's nothing you need to adjust in relation to the proficiency bonus. That's partially why I haven't been covering it. You see the benefits of it. You see that you have a higher attack value. You see that you have better skills here when it comes to those that are proficient, and you have better saving throws. That's all associated with that increase. But there's nothing you have to do because Fantasy Grounds is taking care of that for you. And that's everything that we have to do for level 17. At level 18, we are gaining a new feature called Feral Senses and nothing else. So let's drop this into place and take a look at Feral Senses. With Feral Senses, you are now gaining the ability to essentially know where your prey is, if you will, as long as you aren't essentially blinded and deafened at the same time. With a little bit of a catch. So if you're in the process of going through and attacking a creature and all of a sudden a globe of darkness appears around you, you no longer suffer disadvantage if you continue to attack that target. Additionally, if there is a creature that is invisible and is within 30 feet of you, but is not hiding behind another particular object, and you aren't blinded, let's say by that globe of darkness, or deafened, you can still see that invisible creature, which means that there's no attack disadvantage to hitting it. So, this opens up an immense amount of power when it comes to you essentially defeating potential ambushes, because you can now sense where those creatures are, you can see them, you can attack them without suffering a disadvantage attack. The only time it comes into play is if your character, for some reason, is blinded in some way, shape, or form, or deafened. Now, a globe of darkness would come into play there, because if the invisible character is outside of that globe of darkness, still within 30 feet of you, but you're inside the globe of darkness, that would classify as blinded towards that particular creature. If, however, they move into that globe of darkness, you're still going to suffer disadvantage. Just wanted to be clear there. But if they become visible while they're in that globe of darkness that you are also in, you now gain the ability to know exactly where they are due to your feral senses, and you can now begin to attack them without suffering a disadvantage attack. The only time you would suffer that disadvantage is if they were invisible while within that globe of darkness. Now, if they're invisible and one of their party members casts blindness or deafness on you, but they're out of sight of your character, you also will lose any knowledge of where that creature actually is. Beyond that, all other cases pretty much allow you to attack that target with impunity and not suffer the attacks with disadvantage. And that's how Feral Senses works. There's nothing that you need to set up. It's just there as part of your character. It is strictly a role-playing thing in that you have to remind the Dungeon Master, hey, I'm going to attack this creature. I have Feral Senses. If they're within 30 feet of me, I don't attack with a disadvantage roll. Now, if he says, well, you're still going to be rolling disadvantage, then you know they're not within 30 feet of you. That's sort of a bit of a metagaming there, but that's about as far as it could go. And that completes everything that we have to do for level 18. At level 19, we are gaining our last ability score improvement. We are also gaining an additional 5th level spell slot and an additional known spell. So I'm going to drop this into place here. And there's something that I want to go over once I get to spells, but first let me take, let's see, I'm going to go with Wisdom at 20, and my Constitution, I'm going to bring that up to, let's see, is that going to give me anything? So 16, 17, no, that does not increase anything, so I'm going to go with just a 16 for there. Nothing else is really going to increase. Just for kicks, I'll add this up to a 15, and as you can see, it doesn't change anything. So that is the last of my ability score improvements. In relation to the spells, even though I have unlocked a known spell in the sense that I can now learn one more spell, it does not have to be a 5th level spell. It can be any one of these spell levels that you have available to you. You don't have to go with the 5th one. I've just simply been going and choosing 5th level spells for the sake of completeness because I like having a higher level spell. They typically tend to do more damage, they typically become a lot more powerful, and your adversaries have to roll a lot higher saving throws in order to be able to defeat them. Why wouldn't I take a higher level spell? And that is the mentality that a lot of players will take and make. But you don't have to. The restriction isn't there. I could have chosen another 4th level spell or another 1st level spell, etc., etc. But that's everything we have to do for level 19. At level 20, we are gaining our last feature, and that is pretty much it. So I'm going to drop level 20 into place, and I'm going to take a look. Oops, that's inventory, not abilities. At Foe Slayer, and let's have a look at what this is. With Foe Slayer, you are now gaining the ability to add additional modifiers to your attack or your damage rolls of any of your favorite enemies. So if you recall, we have beasts, elementals, and undead, which is a huge swath of creatures you could potentially run into in any campaign. I can now choose once per turn the ability to go through and add in an attack roll through my wisdom modifier or add that wisdom modifier to my damage roll. You have to do an or decision here. It's not a I want to add it to my attack roll and my damage. It's an either or. So this is something that we're going to want to go through and actually set up here. This will be Ranger, and as you can see, there are no effects. I'm going to minimize everything else except the Ranger for now. So with Foe Slayer, we want to add 2 effects. And the reason why is one is going to represent the wisdom bonus thrown into our attack roll, and the other is going to be the wisdom bonus added to our damage roll. So let's add this. This is called Foe Slayer, semicolon, DMG, colon, and I believe it is WIS. It will be on yourself, and it will be on next roll. So let me actually confirm that that is going to work the way that I expect it to. And there we go. Pop this open. So let's say that I'm going to attack the dragon again. I'm going to add this effect to my character. And as we can see, the damage modifier is already there. Apparently I set up damage, not attack. Let's fix that. That should be attack, not damage. ATK. There. Now the effect. So now I have the attack advantage there. When I make the attack roll, and it doesn't matter which weapon I use, it's going to add that to the attack I've hit. And you can see that I have a plus 11 here, but I got a plus 16 bonus. That means it worked. Now I do my damage, and I've done the damage to the dragon. When I execute my second attack, I can't add this. I have to wait till the next round comes around before I can decide to add the effect again. Well, let's set up the damage portion of that. So Foe Slayer, DMG, :whiz. Oops. Wow. Okay. Apparently I can't type today. When have I ever been able to type in any of my videos? And now that is set up. So let's say I forgo the +5 bonus to the attack roll this time. I make my attack roll, and I've missed. No point using it for this particular attack, so I make my second attack. And in this particular case, I have hit. I decide to make use of the damage bonus, and then I add this to my damage, we should see a plus 10 to the bonus damage. Excellent. It's working the way that we want it to. And I'll collect my arrows again. And that is everything that we have to do to set up Foe Slayer. And that, in fact, actually completes everything that we have to do to level this particular character up to level 20. So I've now shown you how to level a ranger all the way through from levels 1 through to level 20, set up each of your features for use, and a few feats, specifically one. And I hope you have found that this particular video will help you out in setting up your ranger character. In future videos, I will be covering the 2 archetypes that exist for the ranger and going over each of those so that you have a complete sense of what you would need to do in order to be able to set up your character over the lifetime of that character. I hope you have found this particular video useful and informative for you. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.